It's Elma.
It's Elma.
It's Elma. It's Elma.
It's Elma. It's Elma.
It's Elma and we're on Radio Peckham, and I've got my guest Tony still with me. He's a spoken word performer and artist. Right, Tony, about your writing, do you write specifically for spoken word things when you write? How do you decide what's going to happen? Do you just write your stuff and then say I'm going to use that for spoken word, or what's the story?
Everything I write's for spoken word. Yeah.
Like I've seen you at Voice Express in Brixton. Where else do you go, and how do you find out about places to speak?
There's Voice Express is like a place. It's in a pub, so it's quite it's legal basically. But there's also a lot of underground stuff that goes on in squats around London and places like that. And so I do them and whatever. It's just basically there's sort of like a community of spoken word artists, and we just pass on information to each other.
Okay.
And turn up.
Is there other good venues we should know about?
There's the last Sunday of every month in the Bedford in Badham. There's a night called Knee. And you put me on the spot now.
Hey, that's my job.
There's a lot of places. I'll tell you, I can't off the top of my head, but I'll give you the information, and maybe you can just put it on the site and let people know. Yeah.
Okay, good
it's
stuff.
Probably the best.
Right, you used to live in South Africa in the days of apartheid. Did this have a big part to play in your sense of injustice?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Tell me about some of your experience.
When you see, when you're out with your grandmama when you're a child, and you see notices like white ladies only, and then you see just down the road black women only, that sort of like, as of whatever age you are, that has a definite effect upon your psyche.
Yeah, what age were you when you were out there?
I was like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been back since?
Yeah, I'm going at the end of this year as well, as it happens. Yeah. The last time was, I went back, it was about 2 years after Mandela got in.
Right. Did you notice a big change? I mean, but besides the obvious, people are still having a hard time.
People are desperately poor out there. Yeah. The situation has only got better in the sense of people can put an X in a box now. Like, for democracy, an X in a box doesn't mean particularly much to anyone, I don't think.
If you're poor.
It's actually on the ground,
because that's what I heard a guy from South Africa say recently. Okay, our masters have changed, but we still have masters, and he's still having a hard time.
The show's run by the banks, basically, the World Bank and IMF, and South Africa's in debt to the tune of something like 15 billion rand, and which was under apartheid, and the IMF and the World Bank have said that they want the money back. So the South African people have got to pay back the 15 billion rand. And so what in actual fact has happened is, if you had your son or your daughter killed by the security forces under apartheid, the bullets that actually killed your child, you're now paying for, because that's where the 15 billion rand debt came from. It's outrageous. Eventually, there will be change there.
Yeah, well, we know about the World Bank. Lovely group of people.
Yeah.
Tell me this, do you write from like free fall, from stream of consciousness when you write, or do you do loads of rewrites? How do you do it?
It's normally a stream.
Yeah.
It's a stream, but a lot of stuff, it comes from my experiences and also from reading.
You're going to do another piece for us now, and this piece is called "The Revolution Will Not Be Terrorised."
That's right. Yeah.
Coming from Gil Scott-Heron, right?
No, the actual term, "the revolution will not be terrorised," came from Fidel Castro.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's me learning something new there, thank you.
I don't know whether Fidel's heard anything.
We hope so. I'm Elma, and this is Tony. Go for it.
Before a child is born, Into our world today, it's long been dictated by the few to the many that they'll never have a say in what kind of a life they'll end up living, or more to the point, they'll end up enduring. Forced at birth into a system that for the vast majority will only bring exclusion, unless you call riding on their backs a form of inclusion. Doesn't it make you proud to be a capitalist? Doesn't it make you proud to be a part of this? 15% of us living in luxury, whilst the other 85% are living in poverty. 25% is their share of international trade, and in the last 21 years, the poor of the world have paid $5.4 trillion in debt, twice the amount of the original loan that still hangs around their necks. In 2003, the poor of the world received $54 billion in so-called development aid, and in the same year they paid $436 billion in debt to the rich nations of the West, who spend $300 billion every year on subsidies that prevent the poor countries access to their markets. Free trade agreements are imposed which leave the poor exposed and unable to compete against sophisticated technology. The monopoly over intellectual property and the immense financial resources of the rich leads to gross exploitation of the cheap labour force in assembly plants that come and go at lightning speed. The arms trade and the theft of goods from the national cultural heritage, the cultural invasion of Western globalisation, the rape and the pillage of the global village. 30,000 children die every day of curable illnesses and 325 million get no education. 2 million girls are forced into prostitution, and the poor 85% of our world population consumes 30% of the energy, 25% of the metals and 15% of the timber, whilst genocide is a permanent crime being committed daily against mankind. I'm talking about the murder of our sisters and our brothers, though to many of us we see them simply as the others. We've become anaesthetised to the suffering of all our sisters and brothers. In London alone, I've seen fathers and mothers work 14-hour days. £5 an hour is what they get paid. Never get the chance to be with their children and play. Never get the chance to get ahead of the bills they got to pay. I've seen teenagers living on the streets and we can't look them in the eye. I've met the young wandering aimlessly, lost in their youth. I've seen friends and sons and daughters being led to the slaughter. They were born into the trap of coming from the wrong side of the tracks. Now they're all strung out on crack. Hollywood and sex and violence is our staple diet of entertainment. Enslavement has become a fashion statement. Workers and clothing stitched up in the East and we end up wearing the beast. Sporting events are sponsored by various bottles of beer. The competition's now in the marketplace where only rats can enter the rat race. I've heard Pepsi pop stars sing for the suppers of many. They're rattling a tin in a world of plenty. We measure our wealth by our possessions, and in our world of advanced technology, a lot of us can't even talk to our mothers, hug our fathers, or care for our sisters and brothers. Many of us don't know our neighbours, and we tell the children not to talk to strangers, and that's what we've become. Strangers to our emotions, strangers to our intelligence, strangers to our beauty, and strangers to each other, sitting in front of the television, being fed lies and fear and humiliation, along with a dose of radiation. It's the ruling violent classes' most lethal weapon. We're living in a time of the poverty of mind, and indifference ain't a choice when you've got no voice. Outside of our restricted view, the revolution's in full flow. Despite increasing US-led Western pressure and terror, Chavez in Venezuela has set up an economy at the service of the people, from the Zapatistas to the landless Brazilians, Native Americans, Aboriginal and Maori activists, the San people of the Kalahari Desert, from the streets of Seattle and Genoa, the anti-dam protesters in India, the brave teenage Israeli conscript refuseniks, the water boys of South Africa, turning the water back on for the poor because the privatised utilities they can't afford. It's all adding up to the growing destabilisation of the Western privatisation programme and the theft of the natural resources of all the poor nations. Yes, the revolution's in full flow. Listen to our conversations. This poem is a part of the revolution. Never doubt the power of the written and spoken word. It's the only way the truth can be heard. That's why the ruling violent classes keep such a tight hold on the media's arses. But from Noam Chomsky to Bob Marley, Angela Davis and Gandhi, Arundhati Roy and Michael Franti, and millions of our brothers and sisters, each and every one of them fearless and gentle revolutionary warriors, a new song is being sung with rhythms and melodies of beauty and words of intelligence, sweeping away the old ignorance, sweeping away the lies. The revolution will not be terrorised. Peace.
Whoa. Excellent stuff. We've got some other people in the studio who were listening to there, and that's excellent, Tony. I love that piece. When did you write that?
Man, when did I write that one? It was last year, obviously.
Last year.
Sometime. Yeah.
You packed everything into that one. There's not something you didn't touch on there. There's sort of everything from slavery, which is still going on because, like you said, girls coming over East European countries now, they're being bought and sold. People are being still bought and sold today, which is crazy. You know, it's still happening.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's and they say we're living in democracy. Yeah. I want to thank you as well for coming along today. Voice Express, Cold Harbour Lane. Are you going to be there?
Oh, I will be, yeah.
You're going to be performing?
I will.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can catch Tony and numerous other...
It's at the Dog Star.
Dog Star, Cold Harbour Lane, from 7:30 onwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hosted by my last guest, who was Short Man.
Top man. Big it up for Short Man. Big it up for Short Man.
We like him. Anything you want to add to what you've said already?
Yeah, in the sense of when we sort of like self-regulate what we actually say, we also a lot of the time we forget just how beautiful the species we really are, you know.
Yeah.
And we're quite an amazing species, beautiful colour. My friend, I've got a friend, he explained what we actually are and about the colour of skin and stuff like that, and he said we're all the colour of nature. And that's what we are, you know, we're all beautiful colours of nature.
I want to add to something Tony said as well. Kids, they get an awful lot of hassle these days, especially teenagers. And, you know, I know it's hard to be a teenager. I was one once. It's not a particularly nice age. So sometimes it's good to give them a pat on the back and actually praise them rather than always put them down, because you get put down and people say enough bad things to you. You know, you pick up on that and you start behaving that way.
Definitely.
So actually, I think they should get more praise and get more encouragement and more positive things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.